Welcome to a very special live stream here on the Needless Things YouTube channel. Normally I would be going live with Noel and Christian for Audible Interlude, but this time I have the cast of Execute Chapter 66 hanging out for a very special May the 4th Star Wars edition of the Needless Things podcast live, which I don't believe I've done a non-Audible Interlude live stream. So this is a lot of fun. Welcome to the show, everybody. Ryan, how are you doing?
I'm doing great today. Glad to be on here.
Are you comfortable being live?
You know, it throws me off. I'm used to relying on Chad to edit some of my more eccentric ideas.
Well, you don't have to worry. You don't have to worry about that here. We're already enraging people with eccentric ideas weekly on the other show. Chad, welcome.
Howdy.
And finally, Beth, how are you doing tonight?
Hello there.
So this is going to be different because I had to hand chat responsibilities over to Christian because I can't run the show and monitor the chat, but I'm going to have to do both tonight because I'm the only one here who has chat privileges or whatever it's called. But thank you everyone for tuning in. As you tune in, we got a couple of people hanging out already. Smog17, who I know is a big Audible Interlude listener. Thanks for stopping in. We're going to be talking about just whatever we want with Star Wars. But to kick things off, we had a live stream on Friday, which Chad, I know you watched it. Ryan?
I did.
And Beth, you don't care about toys, so we're not gonna. No, it's fine. No, that's really kind of the point here. Is there are a lot of different aspects to Star Wars, to the fandom, and how people enjoy their Star Wars. But I do want to talk about a couple of things from the live stream. First up, and to me, this was the big thing. And if you guys agree, let me know. The Cantina Adventure set. This to me was the superstar of the announcements when they announced them, I guess, Friday on the live stream. But I have some notes.
Yeah, me too.
Like the biggest of them is, why isn't this retro?
Well, especially after you just came out with the inside of the Cantina. Like, that's like your big toy, right? Like, you're putting out the Cantina. So did they miss a opportunity to like make an attachment for the outside of it?
Well, I mean, they did that. They released that Cantina exterior playset, or it's up for I don't know if it's out yet. No, it is, because I've seen shots on Instagram. Yeah, it's out. So like that's a thing, but this is confusing because these are sort of Kenner versions, but not really, and we'll get into that in a minute.
Yeah.
But they're meant to be retro colored figures, so they don't really go in that Cantina play set. To me, you release these 4 characters in movie realistic colors to go with the Cantina play set, and then you do this with 4 retro style figures.
Mm-hmm.
But I love the thought that went into this, but I just don't feel like it was executed correctly. Now, don't get me wrong, I ordered it.
Yeah,
of course.
But I just don't understand. Well, first of all, I don't like Momo Nadon's pants at all. Like, why is he wearing these culottes?
You get kind of a skirt on.
Well, when you look at the individual packages, they don't even have like their real names on them. It's Walrus Man and Hammerhead, and
that's the original names. Like, it makes sense. But these aren't even Kenner accurate. They're like weirdly made up.
Than what I had when I was a kid.
Because I don't understand, Momo Nadon's whole gear is wrong. These sleeves, he's got he just doesn't make any sense. Or excuse me, Hammerhead. Walrus face shouldn't have those blue stripes going down his jacket like that. I don't understand. Snaggletooth he's pretty okay. If you're going to do that look in this form factor.
Yeah.
I think he's fine, and Greedo is okay, but they have added those little the darker colors at his elbows and shoulders. Well, and
He's got that kind of classic Kenner Greedo of just being a green thing.
yeah, he's just got a little more detail. But again, you either just make them look like the Kenner figures, or you do something else. This was just it's weird. Weird decisions were made here.
I think does that Greedo matches the Black Series too. The Black Series had the blue highlights on it.
I think that's right, and I've actually got that one. I don't think it's out. I think it's packed up right now. I bought it just because it was cool, because I was already out of Black Series by the time that came out. But I think it was Amazon exclusive, right?
Yeah.
So I just got it just to get it. Oh, you know what? No, I think I sold it at my yard sale. Good for me. So anyway, that's that said. Very, very confusing. I don't get it.
And yet I bought it.
And yet I got it.
Well,
There's still time to cancel.
That's how it goes.
Fair. That's fair. Yeah, no, I understand.
And then next up, I think, Ryan, you're going to have to provide a little more input on this one. This image was taken from yakface.com's Instagram, which, I mean, if you need Star Wars information, or at least about the toys, Yakface is the place with the links, with everything. What's going on here, Ryan?
I mean, I think Yakface's headline sums it up. Like, why? All right, so have you seen these packages in store yet? Like, have you held one of these?
No, Are they flimsy?
No, they're great. They're
Okay.
amazing.
Okay.
And so I've seen the first wave. I've seen Kit Fisto and Dooku and Cody.
What are you asking me if I've seen Walmart exclusive figures in a store? That's the most ridiculous question that's ever come up on this show.
They didn't do bad on these. Like I've been
Really?
able to see these in a few places, and they did.
I don't think I've ever seen them, but I haven't been
Yeah.
looking, so I might have missed them.
They did a weird kind of release with these where NCAP came out and it had Cody in it, but then it also had the Moff Gideon and Anakin and the Praetorian Guard, and so it was like a weird mix. And
Oh, it's one
now,
of those okay.
yeah, but like it's strange because in the NCAP there was Walmart instructions on how to fill these in, and so these came. The Kit Fisto, Dooku, and R2 came in the second shipment, which are in stores right now, and then we got. Look, that's Commander Poe. They can put whatever name they want on it, but that's just a re-release of the Target exclusive. Aayla Secura, and then a little bit of a different of a Magna Guard.
I like the Magna Guard.
Yeah, look, the original Magna Guard is great, and there are some changes here, but like, I just don't understand why they had these great packaging and you didn't put a new character out. Like at least one. Like they could have, there's plenty, they could have had 10 out, say 10. They could have, there's a couple of characters we're still missing that they could have.
Yeah, but I think you got to be careful because these are Walmart exclusive, which people are always going to groan over. So do you really want to put a first-time character as a store exclusive, or do you want to make the packaging the special thing and just keep characters in circulation with different packaging? Like, I get it.
I think just one. Like if they gave us one that people aren't, too excited about, that people wouldn't get too worried about trying to find. Like Aayla Secura, like she just came out. Like that's a real recent figure. They could have at least, they could have done Plo Koon. I mean, and not just because I love him so much, but because he was a harder figure to find.
Well, and that is something that they need to be more careful about, because remember that Jar Jar, they did the same thing with that Phantom Menace Jar Jar, where he came out in the main line and then immediately the exclusive was right around the corner. So really what they should do is be using this kind of like the archive line, where a character who hasn't been around in a while gets maybe slight retooling, a better paint job, upgrade, whatever, but put that in this packaging. Like try to pay a little more attention to recency.
I think one of the bigger surprises today that people were expecting is we know that there is an Anakin Obi-Wan. It might be, we think it's a 2-pack, but we know it's coming out, like a Revenge of the Sith. The factory got leaked from China, but also in one of the live streams, you can see them in the background, like they're on the shelf.
Okay.
And so people were really expecting that to be kind of the big surprise for today, because everybody's been waiting, especially for the Anakin. Revenge of the Sith Anakin is one of the, I think probably right now, the most valuable Black Series figure, because he was hard to get. The first release wasn't great. The re-release and the I can't remember what they call the re-release line, where they put them back out. And then you find them in the archive line, the Ollie's line, if you can refer to it as the Ollie's line.
Yeah, pretty much.
He also was not widely distributed. And so people kind of expected to see that today, and we didn't. So yeah, I mean, the packaging is fantastic. I hope they continue with it.
So that is just a little news to kick things off. Now we're going to get down to business. So obviously all of us are lifelong Star Wars fans. We're that age where it's just been a part of everything we've known for as long as we've been around. There's no point in getting to like your first Star Wars memory or whatever. Let's talk about like when you were a kid, like what was your Star Wars? Because back then all we had were the toys, and if they showed them, on the Sunday night movie or whatever. I mean, I'm talking even before VHSs were readily available or even available to rent. Like in a lot of ways, Star Wars was just in your head when we were younger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I had toys before I saw the movie. But I saw the movie young. I saw the original movie young. I was like 4.
My parents tell me that I was in the theater for the first one. Obviously, I have no memory of that. I would have been
I
one.
wasn't.
I would have been one of the shrieking babies that everybody hates.
Yeah.
Although my mother says I was a very good baby and that I didn't cry much. That's probably all the bourbon. But
for
I have vague memories. Yeah, for both of us. Vague memories of Empire, like 2 key things I remember about that. And then Jedi, I clearly remember my dad taking me to see Return of the Jedi, if only because it was so unusual for him to do anything with me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we were 7 too. We're old enough to form memories at 7.
Yeah.
So I remember going to see Jedi. I saw Jedi before I saw Empire. But I had a book on tape of Empire.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'd seen Star Wars, and I had the book on tape of Empire, so I was up to speed when
I
Jedi
should have brought
came out.
I should have brought my Empire Strikes Back pop-up book down here.
Yeah, I had all sorts of stuff like that. I just hadn't seen the movie.
That was how I knew that story, probably more than the movie, because I'm trying to think of when do you think the VHSs were like readily available? Like when could you just go to Blockbuster and at least rent them? I mean, it had to be not before 85, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, surely not.
I had all 3 of them.
85-ish.
I had all 3 of them on one tape that my dad's friend copied, who had 2 VCRs.
Yeah.
Oh.
Did the whole copied them all into one 6-hour tape for me when I was a kid, but I don't remember what year that was.
You know what? I have not thought about this in years. I had the same thing. We had one of those Kodak VHS tapes with the yellow label on the side.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it had all 3 movies. That's the first thing that I had. And I don't remember where that came from, but probably exactly what you just said. I'm sure like one of my dad's buddies at work who was more technologically advanced than we were.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow,
No,
that's wild.
He had 2 VCRs and he rattled them off and put them on one tape. And we would, my brother and I would come home from school and we would press play wherever the video was, wherever the tape was.
Yeah.
We would press play and we would play with Star Wars toys or G.I. Joe or whatever we were going to play that day. But we would just have it on. And then we get called to dinner and we would press stop. And the next day, come home and press play.
Whatever it was.
And then when it got to the end of Jedi, when it got to the Yub Nubs, we would rewind it and start over. And it was probably that was probably for years. Probably
It's
for
funny
years.
to think about being able to get, slightly over 6 hours on a VHS, and you were always just trying to cram as much as you could onto one tape. Like,
Yeah.
it was never even a consideration to use the other settings. What was it? LP, SP, and EP, right?
Yeah.
EP,
Yeah, EP was the
Or
6 hour plus,
ELP,
right?
extended long play, ELP, yeah.
Yeah.
Or when people
my
try to
gosh.
get fancy and like pause during one VCR during the commercials,
Oh, yeah.
and then it never came back right.
No, you could never time that right.
It was a good way to cut nudity out of R-rated movies, though, if you were a parent.
Oh, mine never tried that on me.
Yeah, mine unfortunately did.
Oh, Tom and Debbie.
Yeah.
No, I know that Chris and my brother and I had the Dagobah playset before we'd seen Jedi. And neither of us were taken to movies before we were old enough to act like normal people.
To sit there and be good.
Yeah. So we wouldn't have seen a movie in the theater until Jedi. But I know that we had the Dagobah playset. We had all the little Kenner toys, the swords that came out of the hand so you couldn't lose them because you're a stupid kid and you're going to lose them. We had all that stuff. So I have no idea when I first became aware of Star Wars or what the first Star Wars thing I saw was, because it's just always been there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I'm going to sidetrack here real quick. It's funny talking about being old enough to just sit there and watch a movie. We went and saw Thunderbolts the other night, and AMC now has this thing where they block off the middle, like there are no seats anymore right under the projector in the top row. So I'm right there, and then there's a family across the thing from me, and there's a little kid, and she just boots up her phone and starts watching a movie in the theater. Some other thing, like bright as shit. And I was like, is this serious? Are we for real here? She's got headphones on, a little blanket on. Parents are sitting there next to her. She's just watching some other thing. And I went over and to the mom. Obviously, I'm not talking to the kid. I went over to the mom and I said, hey, excuse me, that's extremely bright. Could you turn that off, please? And to their credit, they did not give me any problems. They shut it down. And then like 10 minutes later, they left.
Why would you pay that much money for a child to not go watch the movie?
Because they wanted to see Thunderbolts.
Because people treat movie theaters like they're freaking living rooms now.
But it would
they
have
kick
been
their shoes off. They have blankets. They look at their phones. They like it's ridiculous. I don't blame anybody for not wanting to go to a theater.
Black tie again. We should go back to black tie.
I agree. Black tie and black bags. The little
Yeah.
black bag you put your phone in.
Yeah.
Every theater, I would pay a premium, which Hollywood, I know you love anything that'll bring in more. I'll pay a premium for black bag theaters. Also, let's cut these trailers down. I don't need half an hour of trailers before my movie starts.
Half hours is quite excessive.
That's what they are. That's what they
I
are.
know. I'm saying it's excessive.
We have we gotten to the point now where we don't even bother showing up to the theater until like 6:20 or 20 after, whatever the showtime is. It's ridiculous. All right, that's enough of that rant. Let's move back to Star Wars.
Now I remember, I think before we had the tapes, I had the books with the records. Do you remember those?
Oh,
and I used to listen to those
Yeah.
things all the time. And I remember because that was my main toy line when I was a kid. I had G.I. Joe and Transformers, but Star Wars I loved. And like, I would like time out the sound effects to like playing with my toys with like laser guns and stuff.
How long did your Star Wars toys last? Because once I got into G.I. Joe, like I would still use the Star Wars vehicles for like Cobra, but really around like 83, around Jedi, 83, 84. I'd say by 84, I was pretty much done with Star Wars toys, aside from using them for G.I. Joe. Like the Ewok Village, that became the Dreadnoks camp.
Mm-hmm.
Like it all got moved over if it was compatible. Did you keep going after that? Like how long did it last you?
I think I kept going probably 85, 86, and then I moved hard over to G.I. Joe. As far as like my daily toy playing.
Yeah.
But I kept my toys. Like I never got rid of my Star Wars toys until I went to summer camp and my mother gave them all away. Still a sore subject in our house. The only ones I have left, I have a Stormtrooper and a Chewbacca left that are on my shelf that were like under a bed or something. And so those are the last two I have. But
Mine were sold at a garage sale.
Oh,
My brother destroyed all of our toys when we were kids. So like the last thing I saw was our Boba Fett being fed to his hamster.
I mean, that's not shocking whatsoever.
He
that's
had, he
not
had
good
it.
for the hamster.
He had it hung up by its foot in the hamster's cage by a little chain. It was very fitting end for Boba
The
Fett.
hamster's
but
just sitting there going at it.
Even hamsters know Boba Fett sucks.
Oh man, that old gem. So was there a gap in your Star Wars fandom at any point? Because I definitely, by the time in '85 when the what was it, Power of the Jedi, wasn't that the line then? Like by the time that hit, I was out, and I didn't come back in really, aside from very surface. Like my parents would still get me Star Wars stuff, like for Christmas or whatever, like if there were Star Wars stamps or something. But until Heir to the Empire came out, like I had a good, what was that, 91?
91.
So I had a good like 5-6 years where I probably wouldn't have thought of myself as a Star Wars fan. Did you guys dip out ever?
I had a couple of dips. I had a dip, I guess, when there was nothing new Star Wars for me to consume at the time because I was a girl. So at some point I stopped playing with toys and, puberty. And then I did read Splinter in the Mind's Eye. I read, and when they finally came out, I read the Heir to the Empire books. And then, I kind of lost track again for a while. I didn't even know they were still doing Star Wars books the way they were doing them until I was at a party and Schweck was like, "You haven't read this book? You have to read this book." Next thing I know, we're doing a podcast.
Now you read all the books.
Now I read the book.
Honestly, that sounds like torture, and that's coming from somebody who read every book for years. What?
I never stopped.
Yeah, you were day one.
I never stopped. I never stopped. I had, I had a few, kind of fallow years when I was young in LA where I guess, but I was still picking up the books. I was still, I wasn't as hardcore as I was, but I was still, when a new novel would come out, when we were shooting my movie, I remember the actor made fun of me because we went out shopping and the only thing I bought was the first Darth Bane book. Had come out that I'll always remember it came out in 2006 because we were shooting the movie then. So like even then I was reading Star Wars books. So I never really gave up.
I'm looking at a timeline. Oh, this is not organized how I wanted, because I wanted to see what the first book was after the first Thrawn trilogy.
I know I read at least one of
Truce
the
at
Rogue
Bakura,
Squadron books.
probably.
Is that right? I bet it is.
Should be.
Truce at Bakura and Courtship of Princess Leia. Would probably
Yeah,
be
I know. I've read that one as well because my parents had these books at home too, so I would read them.
Okay. I want you guys to review Gungan Trouble by Liza Baker. Could you guys get on that for an episode? It's a youth reading book.
Oh, I see.
I would love to listen to some of these titles. Obi-Wan's Bongo Adventure. Droid to the Rescue. C-3PO's Big Adventure. Gungan Trouble. And General Jar Jar. You guys, there is a gold mine of content for you in these youth novels from 2000 to 2006. This is good
Those
stuff.
like Clone Wars books. These all sound like
I don't
Clone
know. Let me
Wars.
pull.
It sounds like
Let
Clone
me
Wars.
pull up.
It sounds unpleasant as well.
Oh wow! Hang on. Let me see if I can do a little screen share because you guys need to see the cover of Obi-Wan's Bongo Adventure. Hang on.
Luckily, we know what a
This is
bongo is in
tremendous.
Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's not a Matthew McConaughey thing.
Look at that.
Nice.
Tell
Wow.
me you are not into that book right there.
Is that Jimmy Smits in the back seat?
It does look like it.
This is why you can't be on Andor.
Or is it?
Why
Sorry, is
would-
it Benjamin
yeah.
Bratt? Is it Benjamin Bratt in the back seat?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm actually doing some mental gymnastics because I'm in the middle of a Modern Family rewatch. So Benjamin Bratt showing up anywhere
Oh, is he on that?
difficult for me now. All right, let's real quick. We're going to take a look at Gungan Trouble just to see what this. Never mind. This cover is not nearly as fun. Let's move on from the youth reading.
Okay.
So the books were the lifeline for years, and I think you're truce it back. You're right. That sounds right. Like that was the one
Yeah,
after
Kathy
the Thrawn
Fiennes,
trilogy,
yeah.
and I think it was soon after too. I don't think more than a year passed because I would
You know,
imagine they knew
Yeah.
the success they had on their hands after Heir to the Empire.
The Pillars were the Dark Empire comic,
Yeah, right.
and then the Jedi Academy trilogy came out fairly quickly thereafter as well by Kevin J. Anderson.
Gosh,
And the X-Wing books has
Yes.
started as well.
Well, and think about how crazy it is that we got toy tie-ins with video games and comic books.
Yeah.
Like in the 90s. That seems really wild for the time.
Well, but what that is and what we know now is it was a test run. They knew the movies were going to be re-released. And so all of the Shadows of the Empire stuff is them basically turning on the machine again of how they're going to produce all of this, how they're going to market it, all of those things.
How
That's a
they're
good
gonna
point.
creep
They had-
everybody out.
Yeah, well, yeah, you guys talk about the show a little bit and because I need to know more about your analysis of Shadows of the Empire.
We were not kind to Shadows of the Empire when we reviewed it. We did
Well,
we did a full. It's an
first-
early episode of ours.
First, tell us where you reviewed it. Put the show over.
Oh, we reviewed it on our podcast, Execute Chapter 66. You can still go get the episode. It's an early episode of ours.
Although Dave said to review a book recently, and just to be clear, we don't review books. We're a book club,
yeah, that's true. Yeah,
so we just discuss books.
you're
So
you're meant to have read the book or not care going into the episode.
Right.
So you clubbed Shadows of the Empire pretty hard.
Yeah.
It doesn't stand up very well. It's very 90s.
It's a lot creepier than you remember.
It's very
Yeah.
creepy. Skizor is very creepy. Knowing some of the behind the scenes stuff makes it even worse
Oh no.
because they wanted Leia to have an affair with Skizor, and the novelist pushed back on it, and
rightfully so.
the comics were concentrated on like the wrong stuff. They had that whole comic series about Guri, the blonde android lady that no one even remembers from Shadows of the Empire, and they
I don't
gave
know
her
if
a
I
whole
read the
series.
comics.
So
I replayed the game for our episode, and that doesn't hold up either.
yeah, we were not so kind to Shadows of the Empire, and
fair.
it's interesting because they're doing. I mean, I've got it here. They're doing Black Series Shadows of the Empire figures. Here's my Prince Skizor.
Well, just buy the toys and live with your incorrect memories of the characters.
I'm hoping they've made him canon again, so we're hoping they do something cool with him.
Rehab him a little bit. I mean, I'm sure they will.
Yeah, it's those pheromones. They're problematic.
Yeah.
They're very problematic.
They could alter that to be a
Yeah.
little more acceptable, I think.
I think so as well. But the story just doesn't. Dash is just
Han Solo's not here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we need Han Solo, so Dash is in there, and
Put some shoulder pads on that guy. This will work out.
And look, it
It
did.
really is if Todd McFarlane drew a Star Wars show, and it's not Todd McFarlane, Rob Liefeld
Mhm.
drew like a Star Wars character. He'd get Dash Rendar, and yeah, it didn't hold up too well.
So out of that era of stuff, when it really was the books, which I guess we'll call 91 to really 97, because 97 is when the special editions came out,
Yeah,
and
it's 97.
things really kicked off again prior to Phantom Menace. So that 91 to 97. See, I can't even remember what books came out in that time, but I think it was everything we've talked about predated the special editions, didn't it? I mean, some of them, they all launched before
Yeah.
the special editions.
Yeah.
They continued through 90s and 2000s.
Mhm.
Yeah, but there was already a huge collection of books before the special editions came out, and definitely before the prequels.
Right, that's what I'm thinking, because I remember, look, my memory is shot at this point in my life, but I feel like I remember being disappointed that we were going with prequels when it was announced.
Right.
Like I feel like I didn't, even before the movie happened. And look, I'm not a prequels hater. They have problems for sure. They are not the movies I would necessarily want them to be, but I can enjoy them for what they are.
Yeah.
But I feel like I remember when we found out they were doing prequels that I was already so attached to what Timothy Zahn and the other authors had written that I was more interested in, well, let's, how old are Mark Hamill and company going to have to be before we get to the after Return of the Jedi stuff? Because I mean, were you guys all
much older? It turns out.
Yeah.
Right.
It turns out very much older.
Like by the time we got to the Phantom Menace, there was kind of no doubt in my mind that we would get sequels.
Oh, see, I never thought that.
Really?
I never thought that. No, I never thought we would get the prequels. Like, I thought.
Well,
we were
no, that's
done.
what I'm saying. By the
Yeah.
time we were getting prequels, my thought was, okay, well, they're going to do this, and then they'll pick up after Jedi.
I
and
guess
we'll have the cast back.
And that was his plan. You can read what he was thinking, that he was going to go next with the sequels. And it's not great. It's got a lot of midichlorian stuff in it. There's some weird stuff going on that
Some
Lucas
weird
was
stuff.
going to do.
Although, would it be better than what we got?
Look, so Noel and I left the theater after seeing Revenge of the Sith, 2 weeks ago? And I just turned to him as we were leaving the theater and I said, if people would just watch 8 seasons of Clone Wars and read the right 10 or 12 books, these movies are great.
Yeah, I mean, they and that's the other thing. And that's the other reason why I'm not as hard on them, is they have done a lot of work to prop them up and to give them a better place in the continuity than they once had. Phantom Menace skews a little younger than I think the tone that's generally established, but I enjoy it.
I think it's the best of the three.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. I would agree with that. Attack
And
of the Clones.
I have problems with it, and it's racist, and there's other problems as well with some of the racist character depictions, and the voices just don't. They just don't.
But
and
that's
then,
the fabric of Star Wars.
A little bit, yeah. and there's a homemade quality to Phantom Menace that the others don't have. It was still shot primarily on real sets. Everyone likes to talk about the prequels being shot in a green screen, but that's not true for the Phantom Menace. A lot of it's shot on sets. It just feels more like a Star Wars movie than 2 and 3 do. Because of that, I feel like its heart's in it more, and it's a movie with problems for sure. But it's the one of the three that I enjoy the most.
I think Attack of the Clones there is some very cool stuff in it.
There is,
but it's outright bad.
The middle hour is
brutal,
catastrophic.
Yeah. The
that was the one. And Beth talking about Noel. Like I know Noel saw it with us. It was me, Pete, Noel. Dave, I don't know if you were there or not. And we saw
Might
it.
have been. I don't
We
remember who I saw
walked-
any of those with.
I have a vivid memory of walking into the parking lot after and being like, "That was awful." Like,
See, I remember coming out on a high just because I liked the Clone Wars stuff at the end.
Yeah, me too.
And I
It
liked
leaves
the
you
Yoda
like the
stuff
main
at the end.
event leaves you
Yeah.
happy.
Yeah,
The Yoda, I still love
I like
Yoda
Yoda
jumping
fighting.
around.
There's so
but
much cringe to get to that, though.
but you,
Right.
you do. But I remember going because I went to a midnight show at the Westwood Village in LA, and I remember sitting at the Denny's in Westwood with my friends talking about it afterwards. I'm like, so is that what you wanted more than Phantom Menace? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I liked a lot of it. I didn't, obviously some of it is crap. I don't know.
that's the through line of Star Wars. I liked a lot of
Yeah.
it, but God, there was a lot of crap.
And then Revenge of the Sith, I genuinely liked when I saw it, and it felt redemptive to me at the time. But I do still feel like Anakin's turn. It's hard to say it wasn't handled well because you see it through Attack of the Clones, but it still feels sudden.
It is.
And that's the one that the books have made so much better.
Right.
Even just the Revenge of the Sith novel, but all the stuff they've released since then. Like you're reading those books and you're like, yeah, man, screw those Jedi. Go stab some kids. Like,
Yeah.
Well, and it's also there's been enough work done now in books and in other media, but mostly in the books. There's been a lot of work done to make that fall work, make that fall more realistic, to paint a better portrayal of Anakin than we got in the movies.
Yeah.
And they've done that work to the point now where when you can kind of look at the movies as the shorthand version, or the
And that's what it
the
is.
blockbuster version of the story,
Right.
When
Well,
they're-
it's the hype. It's the Cliff's Notes.
yeah, exactly. It's the Cliff Notes. I've always had I know we just had an anniversary. I didn't go see it because I've always had a very complicated relationship with episode 3 because it just does not click with me at all.
Interesting.
Even less so. I think it's a better movie than Attack of the Clones, but like it by far, but it just never clicked with me. And one of the reasons why that's so weird is because I've wanted to see that movie my whole fucking life, right? Like it's how Vader became Vader.
I've wanted to see it ever since.
I wanted to see it since I was a kid.
I wanted to see it since the first time we ever heard about the lava battle or whatever
Yeah,
was on the back of an action figure.
Right. Like
And
to
since
hear
then,
that
I wanted
and
to
how
see
that
it.
happened. I wanted to see it. And it's not that it lived up or didn't live up. It's not even about that. It was something about watching it play out. I remember sitting in the theater with my friend John and watching it play out and just having no emotional connection to it whatsoever, and just watching it from afar. And I still have that feeling
Interesting.
when I watch that movie. So
Well, they never.
Oh, see.
No, go ahead, Beth.
Oh, I was just going to say, I went into it on a high because I had just been given my first Force Effects lightsaber. And I was like, I was seeing it with my family, and I met them at the Lawrenceville movie theater that's still there. And I had it in my trunk. I was like, should I take it into the movie theater? But no, I was just standing in the parking lot showing my family my Force Effects lightsaber like a total dweeb.
your brother might have broken it.
Well, he didn't get to play with it.
Those things,
Because at the
when
time,
first
those
hit-
things
'cause
were extremely expensive.
I've still got
Mhm.
I've still got my Darth Vader one from the original releases, and it's like there's one cell in it that's burned out now, but like those things when they came out, they were mind-blowing.
Yeah.
I've still got all mine. I have all of them.
Yeah, that thing was amazing, and that went right onto the lightsaber rack that my brother did eventually build me. And And I was just playing with that thing like an idiot in the parking lot for like 20 minutes before we went and saw the movie. And I came out of the movie like, yeah, that's exactly what I wanted. And, it didn't hurt that it had a lot of good, awesome fighting. And
Yeah.
Ewan McGregor was part of that awesome fighting.
Well, and Palpatine was just dripping with evil in it. Like there's a lot to enjoy in that one. I think, Chad, what you're saying though, I never felt, and again, this is where the books and really more the Clone Wars series have developed it. I just didn't feel the relationship between Obi-Wan and Anakin that they were claiming existed. Because it seemed to me it went from they were at odds with each other very quickly. I just didn't see this brotherhood that they were trying to claim was a thing.
Well, have you read the book, Brotherhood?
Yeah, there's a whole book on Brotherhood. You can read all about that business on Canto Nemoidia.
Yeah, it's all about the business on Canto Nemoidia. No, I see that, and I understand that reading of the movie. It's just something. It's just a fault with me, or it's just been a.
No, I mean you're not wrong though, because I don't think. I think you can skate by and just accept like, okay, I guess they're really close. But if you have a deep emotional connection with the material, they didn't do the work to show that relationship as well as they could have.
There's something to me. I wanted their fight to be simpler. I don't like I don't like them jumping on the droids and the lava. And
right, it's not a wrestling. It's not a wrestling match. They're not trying to show off. They're trying to end it.
Surfing in the lava and all that stuff. Like, yeah. It feels a little too like Droid Factory to me. So I wanted something a little simpler for their fight, like a little more dignified. But that's just...
well, no. You bring up a really good point because these with the emotion that is supposedly invested in this fight, they shouldn't be showy at all.
Yeah,
they should be trying to end this, and it should be more like Luke and Vader in Empire on Bespin, where it's a little more desperate.
And it's also, it's Lucas can't help himself sometimes.
Well, and it would have been
and he just needs to make it big and showy and effects driven and stuff. And
but also
it might have been better off without being an effects driven set piece.
But from Hollywood's point of view, and probably the general fans' point of view, that would have been disappointing.
I don't know. Watch Maul v. Kenobi on Rebels and tell me that's disappointing.
Yeah, but again, they had done the work to earn that. Yeah. This they had not done the work, so we didn't have the steak, so they had to give us the sizzle.
That's fair.
Everything Anakin does is showy. That's his whole thing.
That's true too.
He's a drama queen.
You're right. You're right. He's very performative. Everything about him. I saw something earlier today. It was posted from Twitter or somewhere, and somebody said you can't convince me that Anakin's Darth Vader because he completely changed the way that he talked, his cadence, everything about him. Once he got in the suit, and the response was, if you turn me into a codeine Frankenstein by birding my wiener off, I'm going to start acting weird too.
Read, it's no longer canon, but James Luceno's novel Dark Lord: The Rise of Darth Vader,
really good,
has the best description of how awful it is to be Darth Vader. And how learning how to walk and talk and move and breathe in this machine, this hastily put together environmental suit that's been thrown on him.
Well, he's not as really powerful,
and it's really traumatizing. And it's a really great description in the book. It's like chapter 7 or 8 or something.
And it's on purpose. Sheev does it on purpose.
He's not as powerful as he could be because he has to devote so much of his will to surviving in that suit. And of
Surviving the
course, I
pain.
can't remember if it's directly stated or if it's implied that that was the Emperor's whole plan, like to stick him in that suit to keep him from being as powerful as he could have been.
And it's full of tears. And it smells like beef sticks.
Like Rocker Raps.
Ugh. Just like a wrestling locker room.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
sticking with the movies, actually, because I want to ask you guys, this just occurred to me while we were talking. Did you go see the first Clone Wars in the theater?
I did.
Oh, yeah.
So
I did.
I did not.
Open.
I
Shrek has a
did
great
also.
story, though.
So the Clone Wars movie was my son's first movie in a movie theater. And me and Jay, Belligerent Monkey, who is a friend of the show, went at like 10 a.m. And we were hungover. And it was at Movie Tavern, right? When Movie Tavern's open. So I just remember like having a mimosa and being hungover and watching this and being like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. I'm gonna die. Like
I wasn't hungover, but I had the same thought. What was this? 2008, maybe. I had the same feeling. I was, and it was. I've had this probably not more than 10 times in my life. I've been in a movie theater, and there comes a point where you realize, oh no, this sucks, doesn't it? And it's not getting better. And it indeed just is. And you unfortunately have the frog in boiling water realization of like, you're in the midst of a piece of shit and you have to make the decision, do I finish this or do I just leave? And I finished it.
Sky Guy is still one of
Oh.
the worst things.
What was
Yeah, he wore the shirt.
See, I had watched the Tartakovsky series at that point, and to me that was my Clone Wars, and I was
Right,
like,
right.
I don't want to go see this other thing, at least in the theater. I'll watch it eventually, but Tartakovsky's Clone Wars was my Clone Wars at that point.
Yeah, I love that, and I you saying that reminds me of this also. I hated the Clone Wars animation at first. Hated it.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
It starts off not great. I was in the room Celebration 2007 in LA, Celebration 4, I guess it was, when they premiered the footage from what was then the show. Because those first 4 episodes were supposed to be the show, first 4 episodes of the show or whatever it was. And so I was in the room where we were introduced to Dave Filoni. It was like kind of his big introduction to Star Wars. And he introduced a sizzle reel of the Clone Wars show. And it was only after Celebration that Lucas said, hey, let's make a movie.
Yeah.
And he was like, I don't think we're ready to make a movie, but all right, let's make a movie. And they just shoved a bunch of episodes together, and the animation's not much better. But if you think of it in terms of it being a pilot, yeah, maybe you wouldn't watch that show. But a lot of shows start off with a rocky first season.
Oh yeah, of course.
And get better, and Clone Wars definitely got better.
I mean,
They
I
just don't-
hate it.
They just don't shove those pilots in the theater normally.
No,
They do.
I
if
hated
you're-
Ahsoka.
they
I
do if
hated
you're
Ahsoka.
humans. Yeah, Ahsoka was terrible. The baby farting hut was
He's
terrible.
coming back.
He's
Get
coming
ready.
back. Yeah, he's all
That's what I
grown
hear.
up.
What is
He's
the
all
deal
grown
with
up.
that? What's happening there?
he's
He's
in the
a
Mandalorian.
gladiator.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We'll just let this
Stinky.
guy get away with anything now, won't we? We just
mean-
we just
that's
love that
Favreau.
baby Yoda so much. This Filoni guy can do whatever he wants now.
Well, that's Favreau. That's Favreau doing that.
Yeah, but Filoni was like, "Hey,
You wanna
know,
use
we,
my hut?
we should put
gotta
in
be-
this.
You
It'll
know,
be
it would be
funny."
funny.
Funny.
Oh, so he doesn't have because I honestly thought they had basically a partnership at this point. So Filoni's not as involved with the movie.
He's a producer on
He's a
it,
producer on it, yeah.
and he's with his current role as the creative
Creative director.
president of
Yeah, I mean, I gotta
president
think-
of creative.
considering
he oversees it, but
he is the source, one of the primary sources of the success that Star Wars has had since Disney bought it. I gotta think he's got as much input as he cares to have.
oh no, he definitely does have a big fancy job. But I think he leaves. I mean, I think Favreau. I think Favreau's saying this is his goodbye.
Mhm.
Like this is the end of his Star Wars work. Is
Okay.
going to be this Mando Grogu movie with the terrible title.
Yeah, whatever. It doesn't
man.
matter.
It's okay. They one-upped it by Star Wars Starfighter.
Star
which
Wars
is the new,
Starfighter.
most terrible title for a movie ever.
What I would love to see Favreau go back to doing some original stuff for
Yeah.
a while, because if you can put out something like Chef, oh my gosh, give us another Chef.
Mhm.
That movie. Anybody watching or listening to this, if you've not
Return
watched
to
John,
Swingers. Come on, we can
John
return to
Favreau's
Swingers.
Chef, I don't.
We
need to
can
return-
pick up on him. 30 years later.
I could maybe another Zathura. I would take. That would be fine. But
You don't want to
no.
see. You don't want to see where Vince Vaughn's character is 30 years
I-
later.
He is no
well,
longer
no,
money.
okay. You know what? Honestly, okay. If we're doing Swingers 30 years later, maybe I kind of am interested in that.
Just to see what losers they are.
Oh my gosh, it'd be brutal. They probably got a Star Wars podcast.
Probably.
Oh,
They probably do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Made. JJ Shoulderheight is here in the chat. Another awesome movie, Made.
Yeah,
If you're a fan of hip hop, that is a movie to check out for sure. All right, what else do we got? So that led into Clone Wars. We won't get too deep into that because I just want to kind of keep things moving on. And if we try to start talking about the Clone Wars TV show, that's just going to be chaos. What else? When you guys think about Star Wars, what are important things to you?
well, so I think the thing that has kept me coming back to Star Wars and sticking with Star Wars for however long it's been is that it can be anything at this point. It can be space wizards, or it can be political intrigue and the fight against tyranny, or it can be gunslingers and bounty hunters, or it can be deeply personal stories about people just surviving. And I think that's what makes it timeless, I guess.
Well, if you've got talented writers, you can put a Star Wars skin on any kind of story at this point, because we now have seen it all. We've seen everything represented in this galaxy. Now that's not to say everything has lived up to its potential,
Right.
but there's so much that could be done. We still really haven't seen the Coruscant Underworld show that
Well,
I've been wanting forever and
Well,
ever.
have you seen the
have you heard about
the
Lucas's
release
plans?
of how much it was going to cost?
Oh yeah, that's right. That was the thing. What happened with that? That was supposed to happen, wasn't it?
He
Like
wrote-
it was almost
he
gonna be
has-
like Sopranos or
He has
something.
60 scripts.
Yeah, it's written. It was done, and they figured out. Oh God, I can't remember the number, but it was $2 billion. Is that
Ray,
what they said?
Ray McCallum couldn't come up with a number that was less than 40 million an episode.
Yeah.
When was this? What year are we talking?
That
Would have
was-
been late 2000s.
Yeah,
Okay,
8,
so
9,
pre-Disney.
I think.
Pre-Disney.
Yeah.
Disney. Okay.
Pre-Disney. He had been working on this because I know, because every time there was a word got out that they were looking for Star Wars writers, I tried to get my manager on it, tried to get friends on it to see if I could get in the door. And so this would happen every once in a while. But yeah, apparently he accumulated 60 scripts for this
Wow.
Star Wars Underworld show. And it was just going to be unbelievably expensive.
Mhm.
And they never did it.
Joe ARAH says triumph over impossible odds. Absolutely. That is definitely a running theme in Star Wars.
For sure.
And the Underworld stuff they had was level 1313 was the game that's almost completed,
Was almost done.
and they shelved it.
Yeah.
Was this EA?
No, this is before.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know who was supposed to make it, but it was.
Yeah, I can't remember who had it before EA, which EA has done just. And they've put out some good games, but overall, I don't feel like they've handled any franchise they've had as well as they could have.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Underworld, though, we do have today. Did you guys have?
It was a LucasArts game. It was still during the.
Oh, it was still
LucasArts. It was a
okay.
full-on LucasArts game. Yeah.
Did you guys have an opportunity to watch Tales from the Underworld today?
First thing this morning,
Yep.
the Venture stories. I like the Venture stories a lot better, but
I'm halfway through it. I watched the Venture stuff. I haven't watched the Cad Bane stuff yet.
We won't get too deep into it because I believe. Are you guys discussing that?
we are.
On the episode this week.
Okay. So we won't get too deep into it here. I'll just say my one note is Tales of Annoying Children.
There's a lot of kids on there. For a show called Tales of the Underworld, I would have preferred to see
More Underworld?
more Underworld.
More Underworld.
And this is not a spoiler because it's literally the first 10 seconds of the show. But like, I can't imagine if you haven't read the books and that show just starts, you're like, what in the world is happening? Like,
I had to
there's
explain to,
Obi-Wan.
I had to explain to
had
Dave
no idea.
earlier. It's like, oh yeah, Ventress
she
banged
died.
Ventress banged Quinlan Voss, and then she died.
Well, that's. I was like, was there a subtitle somewhere I missed that said Asajj Ventress died on the way back to her home planet? Like,
Yes.
what is, and is that essentially? Well, after
No, there's the whole novel.
It's
Yeah,
called Dark Disciple.
It was
Everybody read
original. It was originally a season of the show, an arc on the show, and when the show got canned, they adapted 2 arcs into a novel called Dark Disciple by Christine Golden, and it tells the story of the end of Asajj Ventress.
Well, in about 5 months here, I'll be unemployed, so I'll have plenty of time to catch up on all this reading. I will be guesting on your show frequently.
Sure. Yeah, it's a really good book. It's a real sexy, dark adult Star Wars book.
Super sexy.
Super sexy.
I mean, considering they were going to make it into a kids show, it's way too sexy for that.
Well, maybe they spiced it up a little bit.
They
for
did.
They certainly did.
I don't need to see those stylized characters engaging too deeply. I just don't. Oh, I will say this about Underworld, though. It's very interesting to me, and we talked about how crude so that, I guess, Filoni animation, whatever you want to call it, it essentially has looked the same. The style of it has been the same since it premiered, but it has gotten more advanced over time in the way that it moves and everything about it. And I will say, every time we see a new thing done in that style, it just looks better. Underworld looks incredible.
Well, and the trailer for Maul Shadowhunter looks even better. Like,
I haven't even seen anything about that yet.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
The new Maul show.
I'll have to track
it
that down.
It looks really good. Yeah, no, the animation. I mean, some of the best animation they ever did was in that last season of Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Those last 4 episodes.
Well, and that's what was so great about it, is that they were invested in constantly improving. They were and evolving the show as far as the content, the subject matter, the writing, everything about it. It got more advanced as it went on.
You watch the first season episode of the Clone Wars, and then you watch like a Bad Batch, and it's just miles.
And that's great. I mean, it's great when a franchise can evolve with its audience.
Yeah, no, we don't. As the technology gets better, the animation gets better. So, and it looks like Shadow Lord is going to take it to another level. Is what it looks like. So.
Now, is this going to be Crime Lord Maul, or is this something else?
We don't know exactly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we know. I think it takes place, at least it's going to start pretty soon after Clone Wars ends. This is how they're going to bring Dark Talon into it. I don't know that she's going to be Dark Talon, but he's going to have a apprentice, and then I guess who knows if they're going to go all the way to Crimson Dawn. But,
we're hoping.
We're hoping it gets into the Maul Crime Lord stuff.
Like,
I mean,
at least starting.
I mean, I loved the end of Solo. I wanted a follow up to that, whether they do it as a cartoon, a series, whatever they do. I want to follow up to that story because it felt like, look, I enjoyed the movie. It was fine. But where it got good was that last
Right.
exchange. That's what I want more of.
We're gonna get this one takes place before Solo. The show does, at least as far as we can tell so far. But I don't think they're done telling Kira stories, so I think we can probably count on hearing that story of Kira being trained by Maul at some point.
I hope so.
I think we'll get that because we do know that she was trained by him because in the comics she kind of is more of a fighter now.
That's really what I want to get more into even than the book, the comics. Because I started with when Marvel got Star Wars back. I kept up with it for a good while, and it was, most of them were great. Most of what I read.
For the most part, the comics have been really good. Most of the Vader series kind of peters out at the end. They kind of ended up just in the formatting of the comics where they were doing runs in between the original trilogy movies that when you got between Empire and Return of the Jedi, they stretched that out. There was a lot happening in a very short amount of time somehow. That was not so good. But the comics have really become, especially for the High Republic, have become required reading. Like, if you want to know what's going on in the High Republic, you have to read the comics.
And the kids' books. And the audio books. The little one-shot audio books. You have to absorb all of it if you want to know what's happening. It is so
if you want to know everything that's happening.
How has that been executed overall? Because I remember when they announced the High Republic, it felt refreshing to me because it felt like a way to shed everything that we know, but potentially still feel Star Warsy. How successful has that been?
I mean, I think it's great. The story has been really good. Like I said, I'm kind of curious how it's going to stand the test of time because you do have to have all these other things. Like, I mean, there's parts of the stories that are in Audible original hour-long little plays and things like that. And I mean, obviously we've read and listened and all that to everything. And so I don't know how it comes off if you just read the adult novels. I think you have to read the young adult novels to make any sense. But it's been good. We are at the end of 3 years or 4 years. 3 years.
3 years.
3.
Yeah, in June it ends. And so we'll see. We'll see if they stick the landing on it.
It ends? Like ends?
Yep.
So this story ends. I mean, it's one giant story. And, it's called Project Luminous, and Project Luminous will end. Now, will they go back and tell all their stories with these characters? Probably. I mean, we're getting the Wayseeker book this week with Burn for Nestra from the Acolyte that takes place a little bit after, that won't have anything to do with the main story.
But no, the High Republic was designed to have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and we're at the end of the third act,
which makes it so much stronger. Like, they knew where the end was, and things have changed over time, but I think you can feel that planning in it, which is where I think the sequels went so wrong, was that there was no plan, and it always felt like it.
Yeah, this has been, Charles Soule is writing the last book. He wrote the first High Republic book, and he's writing the last High Republic book.
Oh, nice. I like that.
Yeah.
Well, before we wrap up, any other thoughts? Any going forward? We don't know really if Disney has a plan even at this point. Like, we know a few projects that are coming out. Actually, somebody give us a rundown. Like, what do we have coming up in the next few years?
Confirmed or rumored?
Confirmed. Just confirmed. Because rumored means nothing. Even confirmed really means nothing because they cancel stuff all the time.
I confirmed we've got Mandalorian and Grogu. We've got Starfighter. God, those are Heir to the Empire. They did confirm it, but they didn't really say much about it at Celebration, which was kind of odd. But those are the ones like we really know. Ahsoka season 2, obviously.
Ahsoka season 2.
Mm-hmm.
Visions season 3.
Ninth Jedi
is coming up, which will be fun. Visions is a fun series. Rebuilding the Galaxy season 2. If you happen to be a fan of that, that's a fun show. That's
It's cute.
Lego kind of what if show.
Oh yeah.
That's a lot of fun. They're doing another season of that because that one was surprisingly dark. It ended with the galaxy just being messed up. And they were just like, I guess we messed up the galaxy. Can't fix it.
Even that other Lego show they did with oh gosh, I can't remember what it was called. It was I don't know, but they did another Lego show that the themes were a little darker than I expected.
Right.
The Halloween one. Yeah, they've done a couple.
No, it was actually it was at least a mini series. It had multiple episodes, and there was a kid who was I can't remember it well enough, but I remember being surprised by some of the themes that ran through it.
We just got announced our first post Rise of Skywalker book. So
really?
Yeah, it's going to be about Finn and Janna searching and dealing with their. See, here's what we talk about with the prequel books: making the characters better, making the stories better in the prequels. One of the problems I have with Finn in the sequel movies is he doesn't feel like an ex-stormtrooper, and he just doesn't seem to carry himself that way. I like John Boyega a lot. He just doesn't carry himself that way. And this book is going to be about Finn and Janna dealing with the fact that they're ex-stormtroopers and dealing with finding others and stuff like that. So, but it's going to be the first.
That.
It's going to be the first. Like, I'm guessing. I wouldn't be surprised if Lando shows up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be our first post Rise of Skywalker book.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't there supposed to be? I say supposed to be. At some point, wasn't there a Lando series?
There was
on the table.
There was a series. There was a movie.
It's a lot of things have been on the table, Dave.
Okay,
it's not going to happen.
Yeah, Glover was going to produce it.
He's too busy.
Where they're doing it, and they seem to be correcting this right now. They do seem to be being more careful about what they say is going to come out. I don't think they want the Rogue Squadron debacle again of showing essentially like a little mini teaser and then being like, whoops, we're not making this.
Well, everybody, not just Star Wars, everyone needs to shut up and work in silence.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so sick of these announcements coming years before the product is supposed to even be available. Just shut your mouth. Once you have something filmed, written, programmed, produced, whatever it is, then start talking about it. And I understand they want to feel people out, but just do the work. We've gotten so ridiculous. The Freemaker Adventures is the one I was trying to think of.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun, but it got surprisingly dark in a couple of places.
I haven't watched the Freemaker Adventures.
It's fun. It's a fun show. It's definitely a little more
I've seen the toys.
Kid oriented, but it's solid. It's well done. Well, I think that's about all the Star Wars talk we've got for the night. I just wanted to sit down and have a chat about the franchise and see where it went. What would get you at this point, whether it's toys, books, movies, whatever, if you can think of like one of the most exciting announcements that they could make, what would it be? And I'll kick it off. If Hasbro would just go ahead and say, we are committed to reproducing all of the original figures in the retro collection. We are going to do that. with stuff that was not produced before, like they've been doing, and which I really appreciate. That would give me confidence in it, because now there's this tentativeness with anything of like, how invested should I get in this, because I don't know if they're even going to still be a thing a year from now, which granted in the state of the world right now, who knows if anything is going to go forward. But I would like that announcement. I would like them to go ahead and commit to that, because look, they're a good portion of the way there. So why not go ahead and just say, here's the plan, we're going to do it.
Just tell me you'll give me a 9 nub. That's all I need. How is he not made yet? It's ridiculous.
I don't want an announcement. I want a release date for the KOTOR remake. I want a release date. I won't believe it until it's in my hands
And
or
even
in my
then,
pre-order.
Even then, you'll have to wait for patches for the fully playable version.
Yeah, a AAA game doesn't come out fully functional these days. But BioWare, come on.
I'm ready for a movie.
Yeah. Something.
I know it's been a while, but it's simple. I don't know if Mandalorian and Grogu is that movie, but
Look,
it might be a fun diversion. It might be fun. I'm giving I think that movie could be absolutely fun. It sounds.
I'm sure it'll be fun.
Sigourney Weaver's in it. That makes me excited. There's other things about it that made me excited.
It's going to be fun, but it's not. I can't have that old Star Wars feeling of, ooh, new movie, when it's a movie version of a TV show.
Yeah, when it's Serenity to Firefly.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just not the same. I need it to be. And look, I love Star Wars TV. Like Andor right now is peak Star Wars as far as I'm concerned. It is what 49-year-old me wants Star Wars to be. But movies, I want the Cliff's Notes. I want the big explosions. I want specialness. Yeah. I want a theatrical experience. I don't want to see Andor in the theater.
Oh. No, we saw that. It was called Rogue One, and
right. And it was cool, and we had the excitement going into it. But to be honest, it wasn't. I love Rogue One, and I think it's probably the best of the Disney movies. But even that really isn't quite what I want out of a Star Wars theatrical movie.
Yeah, I'm looking for a little more swashbuckling, a little more adventure, a little more fun.
Yes.
A little less depression at the end.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm just looking for someone in the chat. Sorry.
JJ Shoulderhide says, I want a limited series that shows how all those Bothans died.
They're not going to talk about it.
So, fun fact.
Have we even seen a Bothan yet?
We know the answer to this.
Yes.
It was a question asked at DragonCon, actually. When Disney took over Star Wars, they were talking about things they wanted to make new canon different from the EU. And that's what the Bothans is, that they are not going to appear. That's kind of how they differentiate the two.
It's a weird line in the sand to draw.
From the movie.
I don't know.
You mentioned in the movie.
Yeah.
It's not that they still don't exist. It's just that they're not going to get into them.
I asked Charles Soule about it personally when I interviewed him last year, and even he wouldn't even talk about it. He just laughed at me.
What a weird thing.
Yeah. And the only reason we got that answer is because Sarah asked one of the authors at like a signing in line when we went. Like it wasn't even in front of people.
That's wild.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, so what a way to end the show. Bothans no more. Where can we find your show, Execute Chapter 66, and what have you got coming up?
Well, you can find us wherever you get fine podcasts, Spotify.
Or shitty podcasts.
Yeah. But what have we got coming up? Well, we've got coming up soon. We're going to be doing some Back to Galaxy's Edge book. We're going to be doing a little Tales of the Underworld. And shortly after that, we've got Andor, which I believe you will be joining us for.
Yes, I will, because I love Andor, at least currently. Currently, it's got time to check. We're only halfway through.
We're halfway through.
Andor
got
about to
time
get
to lose
real
me.
depressing.
Yeah, right.
Wait,
'Cause
we see how you feel after the Gorman massacre.
Oh my gosh, yeah. This guy is. That's what's so sad is like he seems to still have a little bit of like a little bit of spirit and humanity left in him, and we're just gonna see it crushed out in the worst possible way.
I will say I have enjoyed the last couple episodes too, where they were like, "Man, this show is real depressing." But you know what? What if we put a drug addict trauma on there also?
Oh, swear to God.
Let's
They had
lighten
that
the
moment.
mood.
They had the moment where Bix took the dropper, and I went, "Oh my God, it's Requiem for a Dream. Bix is gonna go ass to ass." No, Bix,
Oh, the places you'll go.
no.
Speaking
go
of places,
ass.
you can catch me this weekend in Knoxville at FrankenCon. I'll be hosting a couple of panels, and I will be doing a screening of my documentary film Troublemaker. So if you're in the Knoxville area, stop by, say hi. Joe Bob and Darcy will be there. Rhonda Shear will be there. Brian Bremer will be there. I'll be hosting a panel with him. If you do not remember the incredible character of Pino from Silent Night, Deadly Night 5, then you should refresh yourself. I'm very excited to be hosting a panel with that gentleman. So check that out. Everybody, thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for hanging out in the chat.
USA all night.
And yeah, because I cannot stay up all night, we will bid you all a fond evening farewell, and may the force be with you always.